Colonel Daniel Davis joins us now. He's a retired Army lieutenant colonel who's deployed 4 times to combat zones and is now a fellow with Defense Priorities. Colonel, let's start with that right there. Mariupol being blasted by the Russians, yet now it's being called a stalemate. Tell us what that means in military terms, because it's not good, is it?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't subscribe to that. I hear a lot of people talking about, stalemates and that the Russians have bogged down. I don't see it that way. And when I look at the overall force dispositions and where they are, what they're doing in the various places, what it looks more likely to me is that the Russians are putting their number one priority to the far east in the Donbas area, because in that place they have a developing cauldron into which they have a possibility of trapping about 40,000 Ukrainian troops. If they are able to complete that encirclement, then they will cut off a large percentage of the defenders there, in which case, and this is also not far from Mariupol, then they can turn their forces to the north, and then they can hit Kharkiv from 2 sides, both the north and the south, instead of just one. And if that happens, then you could see some pretty rapid gains there. So I think it's premature to call that that the whole thing has been bogged down. We'll see. It could well be, but right now I think it's way too early to call that, and I don't want anybody to get any false hopes that that Ukraine can win, because I just, militarily speaking, I just don't think they can over a long time.
Wow. Okay, so if it were a stalemate, and I think maybe this is why some of the analysts are saying this, it's because the Russians aren't necessarily making advances. This is news to us, to what you're telling us about how they're trying to encircle the Donbas region. But to me, it seems like it's gone to like a plan B Putin has, which is more of these long-range missile strikes on civilian targets, trying to essentially bomb the Ukrainians into submission.
Well, see, I think we also maybe don't give ourselves a good picture of what it means for a plan B. It appears that Russia thought they were going to try to go in and at least try to have a lightning strike kind of situation where they just rolled in and scared the Ukrainians into submission, and with all this power that they thought maybe they would surrender.
Right.
That clearly didn't happen. In fact, the opposite did. But it's also clear that Russia was absolutely not counting on that. They tried it, but all of the forces that they had and are now using shows that they had prepared and they had stockpiled enough weapons to slog this out. And so that's why I say even the Pentagon came out last Friday and said they still estimate that Russia has up to 90% of the combat power that crossed into the borders. So that tells you they still have a considerable amount of striking power. And that's one of the reasons why I say it's a little too early to say that this is bogged down.
What do you make, Colonel, of what we're hearing now about Russia using hypersonic weapons?
Yeah, well, that's another one of the reasons why I say it's too early to say that this has reached into a stalemate, because Russia has not played a bunch of major cards that it still has in its hand. For example, they just now started using hypersonics, which clearly shows there is no air defense for that. There is no missile defense. Those things can fly, and they have shown pinpoint accuracy so far. And they've only used a handful of them. We don't know how many they have, but if they continue to use more, that can have devastating consequences. But neither have they brought in the about 700,000 other active duty troops that they could call upon, or have they mobilized the up to 2 million reserves. So if things go bad for Putin, he has a lot of cards he can play. And I pray to God it doesn't get to that point, because that would have just catastrophic impacts inside Ukraine.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, always great to have your voice and a reality check on the ground there in Ukraine. Now a senior fellow at Defense Priorities as well. Thank you again, Colonel. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.